Hello, scrufftards, rejects, weirdos, and internet degenerates. Welcome to the War Zone. I'm Scruffy, and this is Scruffy Tales. And we're back after a couple of days after real life getting in the way of making videos and updates. But here we are back on track, and we're gonna take a look at how Ukraine is currently on the offense in Kursk. Quite interestingly so. And hopefully they will be able to keep up momentum for a couple of days, a week, before we see another shift towards Russian favor on the front line. And after doing that, we will, towards the end, take a look at the situation down in Kupyansk, where it appears as if Russia has crossed the Oskil River. And just a heads up, on occasion you will hear some coughing in the background. That's my kid. The kid's sick. Kids cough when they're sick. It is what it is. Right, so we have some interesting stuff to take a look at. Over here at Veseloye, it does appear as if Ukraine has been completely pushed out, because here, where Ukraine pushed in initially, I believe there are now drone footage of Russians repairing the breaches, setting up minefields, repairing the tank trenches, ditches, and what have you. So this here should be completely in Russian control as of now, apparently. So the Glushkovo operation is now a failure, and Ukraine has left Veseloye in its entirety. Down here at Plekovo, it's a bit unclear if Ukraine has been pushed out of the town. The mappers are not in agreement what is happening, but what did happen was that Russia moved in here north of the town, managed to reach this forest, and in so doing cut this highway here, and that meant cutting access to this bridge. So Plekovo is essentially isolated, and that allowed Russia to push into town and grab, according to some maps, half of the town. Other mappers have the entire area as being contested by Russia. There's another bridge down here at Guevo, but that leads only to roads of this caliber. As you can see, there are not paved roads, making it difficult to supply troops on the eastern side of the Pesel River by coming through Guevo. So Ukrainians are hard pressed down here. What else? Russia's crossed the river Snahist here at Dorino. They have pushed in and taken most of Dorino. As you can see, Ukraine is still in this farm or factory area here at the edge of town, but as you can see, it's not easy supporting it. Wide open farmland on all sides. It's only a matter of time before Russia pushes in and secures this area. We will probably see that update tomorrow, would be my guess, or in a day or two. So Ukraine can't hold on. If you take a look at the other mappers, it's gonna look like, it's all contested all around it, but as you can see, it's quite isolated when you actually zoom in and take a look at what the situation is like on the map. This is where you have most geolocated destroyed vehicles in the fields here south of Seleny-Shliak. A bit unclear if it's Russian or Ukrainians moving back and forth, but this is where we see a lot of destroyed vehicles in the fields here south of Seleny-Shliak. Potentially Russians trying to move southward to grab this small village here of Nizhny Klin, or maybe even reaching the windbreaks down here to establish a presence south of Seleny-Shliak. But what I do find very interesting is that this area here has now been confirmed by both the ISW and the mapper Mayakovsk 73 as in Ukrainian control. They moved out from Martinovka and past this here lake into the valley systems and took the small village of Kruglik and moved Russian positions further east, expanding Ukrainian control. And as that is happening, Ukraine has also pushed hard towards Novoivanovka, and we have had geolocated Ukrainians moving in here north of Novoivanovka across these fields, and Ukraine has lost a couple of vehicles, including Bradley or two, as they were trying to cross here, and they moved into the vicinity of the this small valley here, as you can see, and came down from the north, trying to reach Novoivanovka from the north. And at the same time, we have seen Ukraine launching an assault in town itself against this patch of forest. So they have been pushing in here along the main street, and has then moved up trying to reach this forest area, the forested area here. So this push from the east combined with this push from the north should tell us that Ukraine is not on the defensive in Novoivanovka. They are very much on the offense in this this section of the front line. Ukraine wants to push into Novoivanovka and secure the town. They are not on the defense. They are in fact on the offense, attacking the Russians and pushing in towards, or pushing in deeper into Novoivanovka. So here Ukraine has secured a large chunk of territory, and they are aggressively trying to push into Novoivanovka. At the same time, we can see that Russia is trying to cross these fields up here to reinforce positions and come in this way, following a road here, as you can see, to reach Novaya Sorochna. But question is if they are successful, because we have seen for a couple of days now, for maybe a full week, that Russia is losing a lot of vehicles here in this as they're trying to cross these fields. So it's difficult for Russia to move into this area, and we know that Ukraine has put up stiff resistance from Pogrebki all the way down to Novaya Sorochna, and Russia has lost a lot of troops in these towns here and villages along this road leading north to south. So all in all, at the moment, we're seeing Ukraine pushing out here, and we are seeing them pushing in strongly in Novoivanovka while defending quite effectively up in the north. Russia is having success. It would be here in Darino, and this is no small thing. Taking Darino and this vital crossing point here will allow Russia to make a move eventually across these wide open fields towards Sverdlikovo in an attempt to reach and claim these vital bridges in the area. And well, like I said, we've seen a lot of destroyed vehicles here, and I mean, it could be, like I said, that Russia is moving down south, trying to reach the windbreaks here, since they're also trying to push across here. Now, an attack from the north, along with these two attacks across the river, could all be a joint effort to reach Sverdlikovo. And as you can see, you can follow the main highway here all the way down to Sudzha, very crucially so. So Russia's main objective at the moment may be to try and reach Sverdlikovo with a three-pronged assault. Since this is where we see a lot of destroyed vehicles. And that is why Novoivanovka is so important. If Ukraine can push in here, they can cut off this highway leading south and that will force Russia to move troops across the river, and that makes it difficult. Even if they have established crossing points, it's still going to be a whole lot more difficult moving troops and vehicles across these narrow choke points instead of just coming down like a bat out of hell across the fields and along the main highway here. So holding Novoivanovka is of extreme operational importance. If Russia holds Novoivanovka, they can attack southward towards Sverdlovskovo as much as they want, and they can also launch attacks along this highway here, straight at Malaya Lokna and the important bridges in the area surrounding that town. Likewise, if Ukraine holds Novoivanovka, Russia cannot attack Malaya Lokna, and Ukraine can deny Russia access southward, or easy access, I should say, southward towards Sverdlovskovo. So this battle is extremely important, if you ask me, in order to hold the front at Sverdlovskovo for Ukraine, and in order to hold the front at Malaya Lokna. So whoever controls Novoivanovka controls the overall initiative in Kursk at the moment. Would be my estimate of the situation, which explains why Ukraine would try to make this dangerous push across these wide open fields to come in from the north and push Russia further west in this small town, because Ukraine really wants this town, and for obvious reasons, if you ask me. Right, and well, as we all know, Ukraine is now using ATACMS missiles to strike targets all over Kursk, and one of those targets we talked about a couple of days ago during the weekend. It was located here, just outside of Kursk, in this area here, which of course is right here, this airfield. So Ukraine launched a bunch of ATACMS missiles like we predicted at this airfield, and they hit their target. Amazingly enough, it appears as if Russia didn't really manage to stop the attack. Incredibly so, because as soon as Russia realized that ATACMS were going to be used in Kursk, this was the main prime target. And despite of that, their anti-air defenses failed in shooting down these missiles. So it's like with Crimea, when Ukraine launched all those storm shadows at Crimea, Russia couldn't stop them. They penetrated the air defenses, hit the docks, hit the submarine, destroyed headquarters, and what have you. And Russia is having real issues with these advanced long-range missiles provided by the West. And Russia can't shoot them down. They will go through and hit the intended target every time. And this is no small thing, being allowed to use ATACMS. And now there's talk of even cruise missiles being given to Ukraine to strike targets within Russia. Russia has for 3 years now been supporting the frontline battles by attacking all of Ukraine with long-range missiles and drones, striking civilian targets, striking infrastructure, striking military installations all over the place in an attempt to help the actions taking place on the front line. And Ukraine has not been able to do that since they haven't had the weapons, or they haven't been allowed to strike targets within Russia. And now they do, which of course the fight here in Kursk is now a whole other animal, now that Ukraine can properly support the frontline troops by striking targets away from the front line before supplies, manpower, vehicles reach the contact line. They can attack warehouses where there's stockpiles of ammunition, fuel, food, what have you. They can attack repair stations and so forth. And attacking this airfield, forcing Russia to spend more time and fuel in the air before they can launch missiles and bombs, increasing the logistical stress on the Russian Air Force, and so on. This here is just, I can't stress enough the importance of this decision and this ability for Ukraine to attack targets in Kursk. I mean, take a look. If Ukraine starts attacking all these railroads here, I mean, you have to force Russia to move all the troops and support to Belgrade via other routes and through here. It's just, this is, I don't know how to explain how important this is. If you can knock out all these railways, force that, slows down logistics into Kursk. They can move troops, resources, and what have you into Kursk at the volumes that they want in order to fight the Ukrainians. It's just wow. And they're targeting command centers and what have you, disrupting the chain of command, disrupting battle plans by doing that and everything. It's, if you want to talk about game changers, this decision to allow Ukraine to use these missiles to strike targets in Kursk, that is a true game changer in this war. Now, I also want to talk a bit about what's going on down in Kupyansk. So here we have the Kursk incursion. Here we have all the attack and strikes at that airfield. And all the way down here we have Kupyansk and this situation where Russia has crossed the Oskil river. Here you can see the river. Let's take a measurement. It's roughly 500 meters across. 550 meters. I mean 50 meters across. So it's, it's a reasonable sized river here. 550 meters. And they've established a foothold and expanded in a day or two the contested area up to this lake and been pushing out towards Dvorichna and the surrounding suburbs and towns and villages here. And this is a concern because, they are quite clearly after these bridges here so that they can push across more troops and try and take control of Dvorichna. And as you can see, they can then utilize this highway to come in from the north towards Kupyansk. I think they're a bit too far away to help out at Vovchansk, so the idea is to affect the front line around Kupyansk somehow with this move. Maybe it's a diversion to force Ukraine to allocate resources to this location instead of Kupyansk. Might be it, or it might be an actual attempt to get across and gain control of Dvorichna. But as bold as this move is, Russia is in a bit of they have some issues because there are no bridges here. There's something here, but I don't think that's a bridge that can support vehicles. Maybe troops can walk across this, whatever that is. But if they're using pontoon bridges, kid sick in the background. Pontoon bridges. Ukraine can take out pontoon bridges easily. They've proven that up in Kursk. And that means it's that is problematic for Russia, how to bring in troops, reinforcements, vehicles to support this fight. Are they using amphibious capabilities? We know BMPs are amphibious, so that might be a solution. But they are in turn vulnerable to drones if they are slowly trying to ford across, swim across this river. So Russia, they are pressured to move at speed to secure this territory and reach Dvorichna before Ukraine can cut them off at the river. So the question is if Russia will pull this off. I mean, yes, they have crossed the Oskil River. They are now clearly in control of the forested region here. But as you can see, you have another waterway here that they need to cross. Then you have this big town here of Dvorichna that will be difficult to push into if they don't have enough supplies and support from this crossing over here. And if let's see if we can make this work. There we go. If we zoom, take a look. So this is where they pushed across. These are the forests that they are currently in control over, and you can see here high ground to the north of them, and straight west, more hills and high ground, and to the south the same thing, high ground, and Dvorichna is in a valley between the hills. So they are surrounded by high ground, and then you have waterways beyond the big river, marshes here, and swamps and what have you, plus this big town. This is a difficult location to attack through, even if they go across with amphibious vehicles like the BMPs. They need to traverse wet territory, wet ground, where the vehicles can't move at speed, so they cannot attack at lightning pace into Dvorichna. Sure, they can move at foot to advance across the difficult terrain, but then you have the waterways up here, this small river here, and then you have all the high ground around you, all over the place, north, south, and west, plus the most difficult terrain to attack through in human history, an modern urban environment. This here favors the defenders. This favors the defenders. This favors the defenders, the high ground here, and this here favors the defenders. So the question is, if I don't think Russia will be able to exploit this attack. It will draw in Ukrainian resources, absolutely, but Russia will get locked down in this area, I think, east of the small canal. But there's some merit to it. Even if they can't push into Dvorichna, this will still, if they can hold on to this forest, it will still force Ukraine to allocate a lot of resources and manpower to this area that they could have used down in Kupyansk. But if Russia is here, then Ukraine has to deal with it. They have to waste ammo, time, and manpower to contain the Russians in this area. So it makes some sense for Russia to do this, just to threaten Dvorichna. Might actually make it easier for the Russians to push in here towards Kupyansk. This push here, by the way, has apparently been forced back by Ukraine, according to Deep State. Deep State has updated its map to have forced Russia back, and Ukraine has released a statement that they have cleared the Kupyansk area of Russian presence. So the Russians are apparently outside of town again, somewhere up here where they first launched the attack from, into town. So we're gonna have to wait for some proper confirmation there, I think, but we have official sources Russian mill bloggers and deep state all now claiming the same thing, that Russia has been forced out of the Kupyansk area and been forced back north. And well, that's gonna have to be it. I hope you found it interesting. I hope you'll come back for the next video. And as always, go på marsch Ukraine and give them hell.